You mean this whole 4 years you were literally thinking about marrying a preacher and being a preacher's wife? No. I wasn't really thinking about that. I was just thinking about I wanted to marry this man. This is a man. This ain't no, I knew he was a preacher, but y'all, I was 18. I was 15. And so right after 15, he was called into the ministry. So the whole relationship, he was a preacher. So I was like, this is how it's gonna be for the rest of my life. I didn't think nothing major. But um, I went into it blindly. I did. I didn't know myself. I never had left home, never had been on my own. I lived at home with my mama and my brother and my sister. So this was a shock. But I did. I got married at 19. I look at my girls when they were 19, it would be no way in the world that I would allow that. Well, of course, if they wanted to, how can I stop it? But I would have spoken against it because I just know the maturity level. And y'all, I wasn't just extremely mature, I was extremely needy. And I think the extreme neediness for like a protector or a shielder kind of just led me into the marriage. Now, I will say this. By no means do I think it was a mistake. Actually, I'm not going to say I think, I know this was ordained by God. It was too many things that were, I'm not going to even say coincidental. It was just too many things that were put into place, that were aligned for us, for it not to be. Even from the time we said I do up until now, there's just no denying that this was supposed to happen. It was supposed to happen. The trip part about it all is that it was okay, until it wasn't. And when I say that, it doesn't mean that we broke up or we separated or we divorced. Things started to change really quickly. And the biggest change for us was when my grandfather unexpectedly passed. Remember, he was the pastor of my husband's home church. So there were two other ministers, with my husband being one of the two, and the other one was his cousin. So when my grandfather passed, the first person that they considered for the position was my husband. And that's when I feel like I was spiraling. So my husband was elected as pastor of his home church. I was 20, let's see, I was 21, no, 22, and my husband was 24. And we had one child, and she was a year old when my grandfather passed. So we had only been married for 2 years, and I became a first lady. And it did not dawn on me that I was a first lady. I was not happy about it. I think I was numb. I just became a recluse inside of myself because I didn't have time to really process it. My grandfather passed in September of 1994, and my husband was put in place as pastor in October of 1994. I had no time to process. I just went with the flow. And there's no class, there's nothing to prepare your mind for all of the things that you have to become as a pastor's wife. There is a difference between being a preacher's wife and being a pastor's wife. The responsibilities and the duties are different, and it can be very overwhelming. Of course, it was overwhelming for a 21-year-old with a toddler and just no direction. My grandmother was still alive, but which was a great shield for me. I don't think that I absorbed all of the things or attitudes or behaviors because she was still there. However, during that time, there were ups and downs. And then when my grandmother became ill to where she could not attend as much, she started to attend church at my uncle's church. And so that shield was removed from me. And then I became just like the sole first lady. And to say the least, I just was not happy about it. I didn't look like a first lady. I didn't act like a first lady. I didn't care to be one. I just wanted my husband and my family. And that was it. I wanted to go to church, get the word, and come home. I didn't want to have to deal with anybody else. And on top of that, I was also the minister of music for that church. Even before my grandfather passed, I played for the choir. And after he passed, I remained in that position. So not only am I the pastor's wife, I am the minister of music, and I work with the young people. So the church was, the membership was not big at all, but it's just wearing so many hats and then trying to be a mother and a wife and working full time. It was a lot. You got to remember, I was just 21 and my husband was 23. So we were extremely young trying to lead a group of people that were twice our age, 3 times our age. It was a lot. And then on top of that, they were family. That's a lot in itself. The word says that a prophet is without honor in his own country, meaning that when he's around people that know him or grew up with him or, that are close relatives, it's difficult for them to see him as anything but that. So you can imagine some of the issues we had with him being brother, cousin, nephew, grandchild, and your leader, your shepherd. So it was rough there too, And I was the old pastor's granddaughter. So it was just a lot of things intertwined. We worked through. We held on to each other. We wasn't making a lot of money working. We were struggling, and we pushed. We gave no reasons or no excuses for not doing what we had to do. We wanted the ministry to grow. It was no blueprint, and as a woman, I became who I was supposed to become and not who I knew myself to be. I just did not know who I was. I didn't know. I had just got married at 19 and moved out and went straight into an apartment with my husband. And I didn't know who I was. I didn't know how to react to things because, I just didn't know. So I just fell into the role of pastor's wife. And that's what I took on. I didn't know who Phyllis was. I just fell into the role of pastor's wife. I fell into the role of mother, wife, but I didn't know who Phyllis was at all. I didn't know myself at all. I didn't give myself time to learn myself. There are a lot of different things that went on. There are a lot of lessons learned. There were a lot of mistakes. There were a lot of things, if I could have done differently, I would have. And I don't have the time to put it all into one video. But, if you would like to know more about this transition from being this, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed teenager that ended up marrying a preacher, I would be happy to share those if you have questions, comments, or concerns. I was asked what would my channel be about, and I said, it's just going to be about getting older, aging gracefully, menopause, because I'll be 53 in a few days. But then my niece, when I was talking to her, she was like, Auntie, have you thought about doing a page for like young preachers' wives or young ladies that are married to preachers or pastors? That would really be something that you could do because you've been in it, for 30 years. I grew up in it. And so I said, well, let me pray about it. I said, but here's the thing. I never wanted to be known as First Lady or pastor's wife. I wanted to be known as Phyllis, a believer, a disciple, one that is of the way. I didn't want to be known by a title. I just wanted to be known as one of God's children. But then when I look at the state of the world and the state of ministry and the state of the church, the universal church, not your local body, but the universal church, there are so many things that we don't share anymore with the younger believers and the younger ones that are in ministry, and it's needful. So I am dedicating my page not only to life and fashion and just growing old or getting older, but to those young women that are in some form of ministry and just need some guidance. Even if you're not in ministry, if you need some guidance, I'm here. That's what I'm here for. So that's what my page is about. This is just one of many videos that I will share about my journey. It has been 30 years in the ministry, 30 years. And I can tell you some funny things, some sad things, some happy things, but I am here to share. And I appreciate you liking, commenting, and subscribing. Because I look forward to sharing more with you and to be a voice for you, and in whatever capacity that I can help, and also sharing with you my trials and tribulations of aging gracefully. As you can see, gray looks is who I am because of my gray, and lifestyle and life. So until next time,